So, okay, good morning to everyone. So, today we will see the some programming of the thread that in the thread which we have discussed in the class. And now in today's class, all the topics of Java has been covered, but I have decided to show some programming of the classes which I have discussed, and that's why I am showing that in thread, which I have discussed in the thread class, that is alive method, join method. So in this class, I will basically show some programming of this. Okay, programming of the previous classes like threads, which in theoretically I have shown, but how this um, programs run through examples, we will show this in our class, today's class. Okay, so first our classes. Here you can see that first I have introduced a predefined class, that is class sorry, which we have used here is a user defined class, means the local thread class, which I have first written here, class thread one. This is the local thread class, and this local thread class is extending predefined thread class. Okay, the local thread class local thread class is extending the predefined thread class. Now in this uh, local thread class, thread one, it is extending the, or we can say that it inherits the properties of the predefined thread class. So public void run, this method is present in the predefined thread class, and in our local thread class we will override that. So that's why we use public void run. Public void run this in public void run, the it is overrided, this method is overrided because this method is present in the predefined thread class, and we are using this predefined thread class, we are using inheritance properties to inherit in our local thread class, thread one. So in there is a rule that the method present in the parent class is overridden in the child class, and that's why public void run method, which is present in the predefined thread class, is overridden in our local thread class, because our local thread class is inheriting the properties of the predefined thread class. And now inside this public void run method, we use a loop, that is int I equal to 0, I less than equal to 5, I plus plus, means our I value, which will be incremented to up to 5, means our loop will be executed 6 times. And inside this loop, we using a statement system.out println status is alive. Is alive method. Now in the theory class, I have discussed that is alive method is used for what? Is alive method is used for defining that the thread is alive or not. Means the thread is alive or not, it is defined by this method, is alive method. So this is, here we are using system.out.println is alive method, and after that we are using system.out.println exit from thread one. Means our local thread class, our local thread class thread one will be executed 6 times, because there is loop which I have mentioned 0 to 5, means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Means 6 times our local thread class will be executed 6 times, and 6 times the loop is executed six times. So the is alive method present will be shown that 6 times that it is, the thread is alive. So 6 times it will be shown that the thread is alive, because our loop is executed 6 times, and is alive method tell that our thread which we are executing is alive or not. Through this method, is alive method, we only define that. Now here I have mentioned the loop 0 to 5 means total 6 times. So 6 times our value will be, our status will be shown that true, because is alive method returns true or false Boolean status. It only represents that, returns that it is alive or not, means it returns that it is true or not. So our thread is executing 6 times. That means is alive method will be return true because the thread is alive. That's why it will be returned true. So the 6 times our loop will be executed, and the 6 time is alive method will be executed because is alive method is present inside the loop. So that means is alive method will be executed 6 times and it will return true. And after 6 times it will be exit from the thread 1, means our thread will be completed. Now in main class you have seen that in main I have created the object of our local thread class, that is thread t1 equal to new thread, and then through the object of our local thread class I have we call start method. Now that means through object with start method. So calling start method, our thread will be executed. But here you can see that I have used a try catch block. And inside this try catch block, I use thread our local thread class object dot join method. Now in class, I have discussed that what is the purpose of the join method. Join method, if multiple threads are running and that time a thread executed or generate join method, that means the thread which generate the join method will be executed and the other threads will be paused. And what time it will be paused, and what after what time those paused thread will resume its activity. Its activity will be resumed after the thread which generate join method will be completed. Then after that the activity of the paused thread will be again resumed. So join method is basically used if multiple threads are running and that time a particular thread which is running generate join method, then the other threads which are present will, its executions will be stopped or paused. Execution will be paused, and after that particular thread which generate join method, its execution, after its execution, the threads which are paused will be again started. So join method is used for that purpose. So now if you see in our example, there is two thread executing. One is main thread. Our We all know that if our execution started, then we can first use the statement public static void main. Means is this is also a thread, main thread. And if our program started, main thread executed at first. So in our example, there is a main thread and there is a T1 because our local thread class object. This is also a thread, local thread class object. This is also a thread. So main thread and the object of the local thread class, that is T1. This these two threads will be executed. But now you can see in try catch block T1. T1 means local thread class object. Look through local thread class object, which call join method. That means our local thread class, if there is two threads executing, so our local thread class generate join method. That means our main thread execution will be stopped until our local thread class completes its execution. After completing its execution, main thread will again execute it. So that's why this statement system.out.println new status T1 dot is alive method means through thread class object we are calling is alive method. This statement will not be executed until our local thread class execution is completed, because our local thread class generate join method, and through this join method our main thread execution will be stopped. And that's why main thread execution will be stopped. Our main thread statement, this is the main thread statement. This statement's execution will be stopped until our local thread class completed its execution. After completing its execution, this statement will be executed. Now, in this statement, we are considering thread class object dot isAlive method. But our this method will executed when the our local thread class object, local thread class execution is completed. But isAlive method, what we have shown through isAlive method, that our thread is alive or not. So this method will be executed when our local thread class execution will be completed, because it is the part of our main thread. That's why when these statements will be executed, now you see we are calling this method using local thread class object dot isAlive method. So this statement at that particular time will be shown as false, because that time already T1 is completed. But main thread, when when these statements will be executed, that time already our local thread class completed its execution. But we are considering this statement isAlive method, we are calling this isAlive method using thread class object. So that time isAlive method will be shown as false. Okay, clear? It is clear?
Yes, sir.
So now if we will see, we will run this program. 1 minute. If I will run this, it will be clear to you. Now you see. First, I have to go to the path in which it is saved. So CD documents. Then for compilation, we use javac, the name of the javac thread test.java. One minute. Sorry, javac. The name has I have mistaken the name. Now you see that the compilation is it is correctly executed, means that our compilation is correct. After that we run using Java the name of the program thread test 2. Now you see that first status is true, because this statement is executed. This statement is executed 6 times. This statements, first our main method is inside main method we created our local thread class object, and through local thread class object start method is called. So our control goes to the start method, will call to the run method, and then inside run method these statements will be executed. Now see that here our loop will be executed 6 times, because 0 to 5, and this isAlive statement will be executed 6 times. Now when isAlive statement, what will this isAlive statement return? IsAlive statement will return that our current running thread is alive or not. So that's why you see that status is true, 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 because this statement is executed 6 times. And after that, over 6 times, the loop will be outside of the loop, and this statement is printed exit from thread 1. See that exit from thread 1 statement will be shown. But now the thing I try to explain that this statement, this system dot out dot println, this statement is of our main thread. in our program, there are two threads. One is our main thread and one is a thread which is executing thread one. This two thread. So in our program, there is two thread and our local thread using local thread class use the join method. So through if join method will be used, that means the our local thread execution will be started and our main thread execution will be stopped until our local thread completed its execution. So this statement is paused until our T1 completed its execution. Our local thread class completed its execution. So after our local thread class execution completed, then the main thread execution will start. Then inside the main thread execution, this statement will be executed. But here you see, we are calling using local thread class object is alive. But at that time, our local thread class or local thread class, it's completed its execution. And that's why this statement is executed. So that time T1 dot is alive, this will be shown, our new status will be shown false, because that time our already local thread class completed its execution, and that's why this statement is executed. So when we are calling through object.isAlive method, that time our new status will be shown false. Okay, clear? क्लियर है? कि क्यों false statement इधर आए? समझ में आया सबको कि क्यों false statement इधर शो किए हम?
Yes, sir.
Oh. So this is about the total is alive and join method. Is alive and join method works like this. Next, I will show another program which I have also discussed in the class, that is yield method. Yield method, which I have discussed in the class. Now, in the through yield method, you know that through yield method, what we have discussed in the class, that through yield method, if there is a constant that in the multi-threading concept, multiple threads executed at a particular time. So there is a constant in yield method using that the thread which are present will be same priority. If the all the threads are in same priority, that time we can use the yield method. And if a particular thread generate or executed yield method, then the thread which generate the yield method, that's execution will be stopped and other threads which are present are executed simultaneously. So the particular thread which generates the yield method, its execution will be stopped, and the other threads which are present, its execution will be simultaneously done. So after the completion of all the threads execution, then the particular thread which generate the yield method, which generate the yield method, its execution will be again begin and it will complete its execution. So the total opposite of join method. Through join method, the thread which generate the join method, its execution will continue and the others execution will be stopped. And after completion of its task, the other threads which are present, its execution will be started. But in yield method, it is just the opposite, that the particular thread which generate the yield method, its execution will be stopped and others execution will continue. After completion of others execution, then the thread which generate the EL method, its execution will be again resumed. But one thing you have to be in mind that the thread which are present will have to be the same priority. Now in this program, you can see that first there is a class A, our local thread class A, which extending our predefined thread class. Means in our predefined thread class, whichever its behavior or whichever its uh, behavior, or we can say that whichever methods are present in the predefined thread class will be inherited in our local thread class. That's why we can use public void run method. And this public void run method is present in our predefined thread class, and due to inheritance properties, and we are using extend keywords, so that's why predefined thread class method are inherited in our local thread class. And in so our public void run method, which is present in our predefined thread class, inherited in our local thread class. And one thing that if there is any method present in our predefined thread class and which is inherited in our local thread class, then that method should be overridden. Means in the method present in the parent class should be overridden in our child class. That's why public void run method, we are override this public void run method. And inside this public void run method, we use a loop that is for int I equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I plus plus. That means our 1 to 5 times it will be executed. But inside this loop, I have mentioned a condition that if I equal to 2, if I value goes to 2, then the yield method will be called. So whenever the execution will be if 2, then this our local thread class A, its execution will be stopped, because at that particular time 2 yield method will be called. So at that particular time our this local thread class S execution will be stopped, and our local thread class B, its execution will continue. So after its execution is completed, then from that 2, because I value 2, so from particular I values 2, its execution will be again started. So if we run this program, you can see that, 1 minute, cd documents, then for compilation, the name of the Java test.java. Now it is successfully compiled. Then Java now you see, at first our loop is executed, this local thread class A is executed, that is A equal to 1. Then whenever A goes to 2, I value is incremented to 2, that time yield method is called. So that's why you see that after A equal to 1, there is no local thread class A's execution. You can see that again, it was B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. Means our local thread class B's execution is, because its execution is it executed after whenever the value will be I value 2, then the EL method is called. Means A's execution is stopped that time. Whenever the value is 2, A's execution is stopped. So that's why only A equal to 1. Only the first time the loop is executed. From next time, this thread is paused. and our another thread which is in the same priority, that is local thread class B, its execution is completed. See, 1 2 3 4 5 means its execution is totally completed. After its execution, you can see from 2 that its execution started, is execution again started. So those who generate the EL method, those thread which generate the EL method, its execution will be paused, and other threads which is of same priority, that's execution will be completed. After completion, the thread which generate the EL method, its execution will start. So that's why you can see in our example, I have used that our from 2, whenever our local thread class I have used in our program, 2 local thread class, that is 1, and B 2 thread. These two thread are of same priority, and that's why whenever our A thread generate 2, our it will be incremented to 2, then it's called the EL method. So that's why first time the A thread executed, but from second time there is no execution of A thread, but other thread B, it's completed its execution. That's why 1 2 3 4 5 is totally completed its execution. After completion, the next thread, the thread which I have paused, that is A thread, its execution started from that. So 2 3 4 5, that's that type we are using yield method. Okay, clear? कैसे yield method use करते हैं हम लोग? समझ में आया सबको?
Yes, sir.
तो ऐसे हम लोग नॉर्मली EL मेथड को यूज करते हैं. तो हम जो मेथड को डिस्कशंस किए थे हम लोग का क्लास में, इज अलाइव, जॉइन मेथड, EL मेथड, उसका एग्जीक्यूशन जो है, उसका एग्जीक्यूशन ऐसे ऐसे प्रोग्राम के थ्रू हम एग्जीक्यूशन तुम लोगों को समझाए. बाकी किसी का कहीं जगह में कोई क्वेश्चंस रहेगा तो पूछ सकते हो. ये जो प्रोग्रामिंग दिखा है, प्रोग्रामिंग में कहीं जगह में कोई क्वेश्चंस रहेगा तो पूछ सकते हो. तो अगर प्रोग्रामिंग करने दिए तो इसका प्रोग्रामिंग तुम लोग कर पाओगे?
Yes, sir.
ओके, ओनली नॉट सीआरएम. बाकी लोग का क्या हुआ? बाकी लोग बोलो.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
समझ में आया? तो
Yes, sir.
ठीक. हम आज तुम लोगों का टोटल जो है, तुम लोगों का जावा टोटली कंप्लीटेड है. हम नेक्स्ट भी तुम लोगों का लैब भी है, उस टाइम भी ऐसे प्रोग्रामिंग रन करके दिखाएंगे. जो प्रोग्रामिंग रन करके हम दिखा नहीं पाए थे सॉरी, उसमें उस क्लास में हम लोग ये एस क्लास जो है लैब क्लास या जो उसमें होगा, उसमें भी हम प्रोग्रामिंग लैब क्लास में हम ट्राई करेंगे तुम लोगों का इसका प्रोग्रामिंग दिखाने के लिए. जो स्ट्रिंग का प्रोग्रामिंग हम करके दिखाएंगे उसमें लैब क्लास में. तो जो प्रोग्रामिंग्स है, जो प्रोग्रामिंग्स है, वो आज हम लोग डिस्कशंस उससे प्रोग्रामिंग के बारे में क्लास में डिस्कशंस करेंगे. ठीक है? सो थैंक यू एवरीवन. इफ no anyone has any question, then ask. Otherwise I will end the session and I will again take the class in lab class. Then I will also show some programming. Okay. Okay, I think there is no question, so I will end the session. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. I am ending the session.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.